Okay, this week's bonus clip is coming a bit later than usual. I was away during the week, so I've only just been able to edit our recording from last Sunday. This is the latest in our series of chats featuring Ireland's options at various jersey positions. If you look back in our feed, you'll see we've already looked at jerseys 1, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And Tom is going to kick us off this week by looking at jersey number 8.
Well, I just wanted to skip this. When you give me the option of just trying to pick a player, I went for number 8, which Caelan Doris, because like it's the easiest decision to make, and I wouldn't have to convince many that Caelan Doris is our out and out number 8. Like he's central to a lot of Ireland's strike moves, which we didn't probably see a bit, and obviously we're holding maybe some back. You would hope for the World Cup, but he's an athletic freak that could sort of play. He showed in the previous game he could play 7 like at a world class level. He reminded me of Peter Steph de Toit from 2019. I thought his performance was that good in a position that he was not used to. Yeah, he's just an outstanding player. Like, world class is bandied around a lot in sport, and in our sport that we speak about in rugby. Well, Caelan Doris genuinely is, as Andy Farrell sort of joked the last time, he's sick of him getting man of the matches. I know Mac has got a few now as well, but I joked online that it was a bit of a scandal that Doris only got 10 minutes to try and get man of the match when he came on in 70th minute. And as Jay said, like, to bring somebody of his quality on when England are sort of bet at this stage is a bit disheartening. He's just, I know, it's just, you don't have to delve too deeply into the technical side of it. He's just an outstanding player. And if Ireland are going to break hoodoos in the World Cup, he's going to be central to it. He's just some player. We're lucky to have him in green and blue. So yeah, I took the easy subject and just picked number 8. I didn't go too complicated with trying to pick another position where there's a bit iffy. But yeah, Caelan Doris number 8 for Ireland. Play him in his best position, and I know he can switch to 6. He can switch to 7 now that we can see. And given the back row makeup, where Baird can play 6 or Byrne can play drop back into 6 like he did. And Josh can obviously the 7. Peter can play 7. If Doris can play 7, you have now Prendergast who played 6 and 8. Yeah, it's Ireland are in a good place, but he is really central to how we're going to do in the World Cup.
Absolutely, and in terms of like backup options, if God forbid anything happens to him, I mean, they gave Prendergast to go at the weekend there, but I'd say it's Conan. They're hoping that Conan comes back from that injury, so he's probably the main person to slot in there. He takes a lot of the restarts as well when he's on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it does give you that flexibility. Conan's very good out in those wide channels. He brings something different, and he actually played with a huge determination. I thought throughout the end that he looked like a guy that maybe felt he looked like a guy that probably read too much stuff online, Conan, and went out with a point to prove towards the end of the Six Nations, because he was really outstanding. He sort of put to bed, like, I deserve my place in the 23. And I think people really need to look back at the last couple of matches in the Six Nations and really see that. So I'm sure Andy Farrell will be looking to get him out back as quick as possible from that injury he sort of picked up against the first half against Italy. But naming all those back row players in the different positions, you feel you could go in. When we think back to when we lost against Argentina, when we lost players, we just had no flexibility on. We lost Sean O'Brien. I think Paul O'Connell was gone, and there was no. Now you could say to yourself, yeah, we can move Byrne to 6 if we're missing Peter, or if you lost Van der Fleer, you could move Palm across there and play Doris at 6 and Conan at 8, and we just never had those options. So there's literally, it's like a Rubik's cube. There's a multiple of choices you can play in that back row. And it's just keeping them fit.
Absolutely. And okay, that's great. Now we'll move on to Jay now, and he's gone for that position where it's tough to avoid an innuendo, whatever way you call it, whether you call it a number 2 or you call it a hooker, whatever words you use. I'll just let you work away on it.
Never say them both in the same sentence either. That costs extra. No, look, I mean, this is a time of picking. This probably would have been the same mindset as Tom. I think at this stage it's an obvious choice. I think, and his name is Dan Sheehan. Obviously the injury concerns on the previous England game may cost a bit of a shadow at that. But I mean, going back as far as the kind of New Zealand tour, the kind of the main three names that get some combination of Sheehan, Kelleher, and Herring. And with Kelleher, who obviously has massive potential, but his injury profile is working against him. And Herring is rock solid, but I think at this stage it's pretty clear that Dan Sheehan's a different animal. The impact he has, his dynamism is pretty incredible. So given that we don't technically know if Dan's okay, we're still at the time of recording, we're still awaiting the results from the scan. I suppose when folks listen to this, they'll either be happy, you know, smiling or crying at this stage. But looking at that, I guess Tom Stewart is the other man in camp, and Dermot Barron has been called up for training a couple of weeks ago now. He was called in when Conway was called in a couple of weeks ago. And judging by the logic, if we think that Andy is happy with Tom Stewart, who was a relative quote unquote kind of rookie, who had a strong Emerging Ireland tour and a really strong URC season. You could take those two criteria and apply it to Dermot Barron as well, right? He started in a semi-final in the URC that never happened, and he started in the URC final against a pretty mean Stormers pack, right? So, you would think that Dermot Barron would be the quote unquote fourth man. I think we're probably only going to be bringing 3 hookers. So that's probably going to be Herring, Kelleher, and Stewart, should Dan Sheehan be injured. But if all going well, I think it's pretty obvious that Dan Sheehan is the first man on that list, if not the first name on the team sheet nearly. And then probably it's a mix between Kelleher and Herring for the man on the bench, and I wouldn't be particularly happy or sad to see either. I think Herring's been very solid. He came on in New Zealand and he killed off that New Zealand tour for us with a fantastic try. We're again another position that we're lucky to have such very talented people in. But unfortunately, we kind of have 2 concerns at the moment. I suppose Kelleher. There's question marks about him. We haven't seen him to date in the warm-up games at all. So we don't know what kind of nick he's in. But yeah, fingers crossed Dan Sheehan by the time we get to the World Cup.
And don't forget we have the backup to the backup plan, which is in the rare event where you lose 2 hookers, which sounds like a bad comedy in Amsterdam. But when we've got the Healy Van der Fleer show, which is always handy. Do you know what I mean? Because Healy can scrummage us as hooker. So and if Van der Fleer shown he can throw fairly competently into a line out. So it's you know, if you really run into a situation where you need that, Ireland have that as well, which is good comfort to have.
Absolutely. You always want you always want to have good options at hooker, and I'm going to leave that one right there. Okay, thanks to both Tom and Jay for those thoughts. And for this video, we're going to hear about one more Ireland jersey. Keego is going to chip in on number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting position, and obviously with the news of our former friend Jean Klein going back home, and you know, again, fair play to him. Look, we can't really give out about that considering the amount we've taken on using that rule. So fair play to him. But I do feel it's a position where we kind of had, we had O'Connell, O'Callaghan, we had, Dev Toner was in there. Now we've got Ryan, we've got Henderson. We got Baird. We got Doris could probably do it. Jeannie Mack, Keith Giles could nearly do it. He's doing everything. So I think it's great to watch how the line-out works with the different personnel. So last week we had, who did we start? Byrne and Ryan last week against England. And it was interesting to see how they navigated the line-out. This week we've got Henderson captaining and who Henderson and
Byrne is with them this week. Yeah, he's going to 5. Yeah. I think
So
versatility is kind of the key.
And if you look at the level of ball playing ability in that second row, specifically over on the 4 position, but everywhere, it's really spectacular. We've seen them kick, pass, tackle, everything. And with that, we have extra options in the line-out. When the line-out works, we're going to see it under pressure and how they operate. But it's really impressive what Farrell and the guys have done since King Joe moved on, where they've really strengthened that second row, where we've got back rowers who can jump in and vice versa. So, and everyone can play ball. So it's a really interesting spot. And it's great to watch when you're you know, when you're watching the screen, because I don't know a lot about the scrum or anything really, but when you're watching the line out, it's really interesting to see who's calling, who's making the moves, who's lifting, and it's really, really great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that that Klein does have a lot to offer, and he has shown it in the warm-up games for the Springboks since he's gone back. But I mean, I think the bottom line is that he as good and all as he is, two things. Number one, there are better players ahead of him in the squad, in the Irish squad, but also it's his. He is a four. He is that is his position, and when there's already players ahead of you, you need versatile options underneath him. I always go back to the fact that when we had our Grand Slam game against England, we put Ryan Baird there, and because that's the kind of what we'd be looking for in the World Cup, where you've got a limited squad, so you want versatile options behind him. And besides, anyone who says, oh, John Klein should have gotten more caps for Ireland, should have had more opportunities, he's a second row, I've got two words for them: Leo Cullen. It's like, it happens. It's a reality of Test rugby that when there's better options there, some really good players, quality players that should have gotten more caps, they lose out. That's the reality of Test rugby. It's not like the NFL in America where you just move to another team and get all the appearances you want. It doesn't quite work that way. So the way it was good for Klein that he did have this little loophole opportunity to at least go back to the box and train with them. Well, listen, that's brilliant, man. Thanks as ever. We're going to call it. That's all for this clip. But be sure to check out the previous ones if you haven't already. And also, of course, comment, like, share, and subscribe as you see fit. We'll be getting more contributions, looking at 2 more jerseys for the Samoa Rep Pod at the weekend. Keep an eye out for that when it should hit the feed around Monday afternoon.